did everything right and they indicted me.
In the Ice Age, how much taxes did people pay?
I don't want reality.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
Good to see everybody showing up. I'm just getting a couple of things taken care of before we get started, so buckle up, folks.
Aren't I a good guy?
China, China.
Illegal.
Well, it's good to see all you folks once again. Here to join me on this journey through the abyss. A lot to cover here today, even more than I thought originally, but hopefully we'll get through all of it. Suppose we better get right to it. Okay. Well, as I have been doing lately, we're going to start it off with rather than something serious, something silly. In an attempt to somehow even out all of the doom. Fingers crossed. Let's try and start with this video, which I'm sure many of you have seen, I would guess. I still find it funny to this day. So, let's do this. Hold on. Wait. Nope. Pause. Ahem. Okay. Oh, shit.
Mr. Ponton, I believe you have a filter turned on in the video settings. You might want to take
we're
a
trying to. Can you hear me, Judge?
I can hear you. I think it's a filter.
It is, and I don't know how to remove it. I've got my assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it.
I'm prepared to
I'm
go.
here live. I'm not a cat.
Oh, I fucking love that. I just gotta hear that again.
I can see that.
Can you?
My assistant here. She's trying to, but I'm prepared to go forward with it. I'm here live. I'm not a cat.
I don't think a cat can file a motion.
I can see that. I think if you click the up arrow next to this.
It's just so silly. Your Honor, I am not a cat. I can see that. I felt like he was just... you could tell he was just trying to make him feel better about it. Because you can't see that. It's not clear that he's not a cat. I would have been more apt to believe it if he had said, I am a cat. I would have said, yes, I can see that. You are a cat. Why are you trying to file a motion in this court, sir? This is human court. Okay. So to go from something very silly to something, a bunch of things that are very serious. In the span of the last 24 hours, there were 3 different shootings. 2 people dead, 2 people injured. We're gonna have to go through like 3 different videos to get all this in, but here we go. First one. They're all from ABC7, I think. Yeah. A cat who represents himself in court is his own worst representation, whatever the saying is. Yes, that's correct.
On Long Island, the second
No
shooting involving teenagers
himself.
in just 2 days. Last night, a 13-year-old boy was wounded in the front yard of his Brentwood home on Pheasant Circle. His injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. Investigators have released very little information about the shooting. On Friday night, you might remember, a shooting killed a 19-year-old man after a party in Bayshore. The gunfire also hurt a 17-year-old girl.
There's number 1. Another act of senseless gun violence. Next one. 17-year-old fatally shot in Brooklyn intersection.
And tragic news tonight, a 17-year-old shot and killed in Brooklyn. Police say bullets struck him in the neck and back. Detectives are currently at that scene as well. The shooting happened in East Flatbush near the intersection of Church Avenue and East 37th Street. Police have identified the victim as Brian Enriquez. He lived about a mile away.
I just realized the music's going. Why is the music going? Do you hear the music? Weird. I don't know how that happened. Okay.
From Channel 7,
Here's another one. Same time frame in East Harlem, 18-year-old girl and 25-year-old man fatally shot. It's out of control. We gotta do something about the guns. It's really out of control. 3 in one day. Chat, I don't even search for these things. They get recommended to me, okay? The algorithm has figured out what I'm watching. I don't even look for it. They just come to me. Every fucking day. And it is depressing. Okay.
At breaking news tonight, a killer on the run in New York City. 2 people shot and killed in East Harlem, and police say the suspect got away. It happened near the intersection of East 128th and Lexington Avenue. Detectives right now are still scouring that scene for evidence, but that's where Eyewitness News reporter Sonia Rincon is for us tonight. Sonia.
Yeah, Joe, the victims who died are an 18-year-old girl and a 25-year-old man. The girl was shot in the head and back, and the 25-year-old man was shot in the head as well in what appears to have been a targeted shooting. And if you could take a look behind me, you can see detectives have been looking carefully for evidence and any video as well. We don't know the relationship between the 2 victims or what led to this. This happened.
Sonia is just literally running around the city covering one shooting and then the next one. It is ridiculous. I feel bad for Sonia. And I feel bad for those people and their families and America for having to endure this gun violence epidemic that we're up against. Okay, that's our daily gun violence update. Next is a slightly more constructive story. This is from the Real News Network, where they got coverage of stadium workers at the Orioles ballpark who are sending a message to their owners. Sorry, getting distracted already today.
They say they appreciate our work, but in reality, I don't think they do, because they're not showing us that they do. And we work hard in the store to put merchandise out and to accommodate these fans. So we feel like we're not getting what's due to us.
A champion is bred from hard times, scarred mind, standing on the ledge. The squad grind, all-time victory in spite of moment we enter the game of life. Get it right for the whole thing gone dead. Let's go ahead and take it there. Meet me on the edge.
Hey, this is Dave Zirin from Edge of Sports TV here only on the Real News Network. I'm here in front of the Orioles team store, where workers from Unite Here Local 7 are going to be picketing in a moment in protest of the hardball tactics being put forward by management in their effort to secure full-time work and decent health benefits. Now, as you're looking at this, you might ask yourself, why aren't the Orioles negotiating in good faith with these workers? Well, that's where it gets a little bit complicated.
Yeah.
The store, as of 2023, is actually owned by a group called Fanatics. The Orioles subcontracted both the team.
And Fanatics, if you're unaware, is a multi-billion-dollar company who essentially is in the business of selling like fan gear, right? Like anything branded, from baseball to basketball and anything in between. They're making it and they're selling it, or they're getting someone else to make it and then they're selling it. Honestly, until this story, I did not realize that they were in the business of owning stadiums and things like that, but not that shocking.
Store, as well as the food services inside. Now, the food services company, which is called Levy's, has organized with Unite Here for a decent union contract, yet Fanatics is playing hardball, and that's what the picket here today is all about. It's about saying, don't mess with us. We might walk out on opening day, which is happening in just a few short days. So this is all very, very tense right now here at the Fanatics team store. Now, you might ask yourself also, where is the Angelos family in all of this, the owner of the Baltimore Orioles? Because even though the Orioles say we're not in charge of the retail shop, let's be honest.
Okay, I just realized that it's actually the retail. Somehow I missed that during this discussion. It's the shop itself at the store. Not the store, at the stadium. It's the store at the stadium. Stadium store.
About this. If the Orioles, if the Angelos family, if they made a phone call, the labor dispute would probably end in quick order. Now, this is also complicated because the Angelos family just sold the team to two hedge fund guys, a guy named David Rubenstein from the Carlyle Group. They're going to be the new majority owners of the team. But the Angelos...
Right, so the Carlyle Group now owns it. I knew that I had... I remember that from this... Man, I'm not starting off good here today, my God.
Family has a lot of influence over this, and if you know anything about their history, they have been some of the few major league franchise owners who've been at different points on the side of labor. Peter Angelos in 1994 actually sided with the players during the players' strike to the chagrin of his ownership brethren. Baltimore, the metro area, this is a union town, and we're going to see that today. We're going to see people from Baltimore picketing out here because they want to tell the Fanatics store and the Baltimore Orioles that they want decent wages and a decent health care contract. Let's talk to them right now. If you could say something directly to the Fanatics folks right now, what would it be?
I would say we want equal rights. We're tired of y'all keep saying no and not giving us what we need. We are sick and tired of it. Y'all say it's y'all business model. I'm so tired of hearing about your business model. Mm-hmm. I really am. And so are the other associates. We work hard in this store for y'all, and we deserve to get our health benefits. We deserve to get our full-time hours, and we deserve our wages.
Where are negotiations right now?
Actually, I want to listen.
As of this moment right here.
There's been some meaningful movement on this hours issue, but I think the real issue is if you come in, as Karen said, they like to talk about their business model being part-time work and apparently lower wages. And if you come in with a bad business model and you compromise on half of that, I'm not sure that means that our members need to, make up for their business model by accepting lower wages. So we're really stuck on wages right now and on not accepting less than what we get in other places in the city.
So stuck on wages. Opening day is coming up. The baseball world.
Okay, I think we all get the point. Got people in Baltimore striking, and seemed like a worthy thing to look at, as labor is currently doing what it can, I think, in many places to fight back against the capitalist class that is attempting to eke out as many profits as they possibly can from them and their labor. Not shocking that the hedge fund bros over at the Carlyle Group have decided to step into baseball ownership. Okay, what is next? Okay. I kind of stuck that one in there because the rest of this stuff gets pretty serious pretty quickly. Although I do have a couple of things scattered throughout here to try and keep us from going over the edge, metaphorically. This next one is from 21 hours ago from the Associated Press. This is a video on the Supreme Court, which is now weighing access to widely used abortion drug, mifepristone. Or is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it. The U.S. Supreme Court will take up a case Tuesday that could impact how women get access to the abortion medication. The central dispute in the case is whether the FDA overlooked serious safety problems when it made mifepristone easier to obtain. The doctors and groups wanting mifepristone pulled from the market says that those recent changes jeopardize women's health throughout the nation.
Our clients are doctors who are either OBGYN.
Now, this lady is the attorney leading up the quote-unquote Alliance Defending Freedom. Shit, I don't have this page. And the Alliance Defending Freedom is an ultra-conservative Christian legal advocacy group. So be aware of that while listening to her right now. But yeah, if this is somehow overturned, it would be hugely problematic legally speaking, but B, real world problematic for millions of women across America as they go into here. The drug itself could very well be taken off the shelves just based upon this one decision.
Or OBGYN hospitalists who work in emergency rooms. And the reason our clients have standing is because from 2000 on, including in 2021, FDA acknowledged that the restrictions, the safeguards that it was removing on the abortion drug would mean that more women suffer harm and end up in the emergency room. Again, women come into these emergency rooms suffering from abortion drug complications, and our doctors have a sincere conscious objection to facilitating abortion, to potentially ending an unborn life, and those sorts of things. So our doctors are harmed by FDA's express acknowledgement and conscription of those doctors to deal with problems the agency anticipated.
That lady, I'm pretty sure she hates women. That's what I'm sensing for whatever reason. This says, however, 7 former FDA commissioners said in a court filing that the agency exercised special care in its initial approval for mifepristone. No way. They actually thought about it? You're telling me there was a approval process with the FDA? No way. Didn't realize that they were literally dedicated to that. Almost, not exclusively, but it's a massive portion of what they do. Anyways, by rolling back FDA changes to the use of mifepristone, the ruling would cut off access to the drug through the mail and impose other restrictions.
The court's mifepristone case has the potential, obviously, to upend how drug approvals function if you can challenge drug approvals years or even decades after the fact by asking judges to sort of second guess the evidence that regulators have meticulously reviewed. That sets a pretty important precedent. From the standpoint of access to mifepristone, the case could be a big deal because if the court even sides with the Fifth Circuit, essentially saying that the FDA didn't have the authority to lift restrictions on access to the drug in 2016 and 2021, that would render pretty much all the doses of mifepristone on the market potentially misbranded and mislabeled, which could mean, I think, months of disruption in terms of the drug being available. There's a possibility that the court will address the Comstock Act, which is a 19th century obscenity law, which some abortion opponents are hoping the Trump administration, if there is a second Trump administration, will treat as a de facto ban on all abortions. So there are a lot of explosive possibilities that we could see in the case.
Okay. So, you heard that correctly. Psychotic evangelical lawyers are attempting to take the abortion pill off of the market by using a very uncommon complication with the drug in order to pull it from shelves and to essentially keep women across the country from being able to get access to the drug. You're not taking crazy pills. It's real. They're trying to do that right now. It's in the Supreme Court. Okay, well here is a oh, the obscenity law? Yes. Oh, you know what? Thank you for reminding me this. Thank you for reminding me that. Thank you, Schmegley. Yeah, okay. I have this pulled up already, actually. Wait, where'd it go? There it is. Okay. This shit is wild, by the way. Like, this shit is real wild. So, this is the seal. The New York Society for the Suppression of Vice. And as you can see, on the left-hand side of the crest is a man being arrested by some very old-timey looking dude who probably talked like, "Get over her." And then this other guy, who probably sounds like, oh, this is very bad. He's throwing books into a fire right now. And wearing his little top hat. So yeah, we got like a pre-Fahrenheit 451 sort of representation of a book burner. And, wait, what did I just do? Sorry. This is the literal seal that was, for the New York Society of Suppression of Vice. Going back here, let's read through this a little bit. Where did I want to start? Okay, this is the original text of the law. Okay? Every obscene, lewd, or lascivious, and every filthy book, pamphlet, picture, paper, letter, writing, print, or other publication of an indecent character, and every article or thing designed, adapted, or intended for preventing conception or producing abortion, or for any indecent or immoral use, and every article, instrument, substance, drug, medicine, or thing which is advertised or described in a manner calculated to lead another to use or apply it for preventing conception or producing abortion, or for any indecent or immoral purpose, and every written or printed card, letter, circular, book, pamphlet, advertisement, or notice of any kind giving information directly or indirectly where or how or of whom or by what means any of the herein before mentioned matters, articles, or things may be obtained or made, or where or by whom any act or operation of any kind for the procuring of producing of abortion will be done or performed, or how or by what means conception may be prevented or abortion may be produced, whether sealed or unsealed, and every letter, packet, or package of any mail matter containing any filth, vile, or indecent thing, device, or substance, and every paper, writing, advertisement, or representation. I can't even do it. I gotta stop. It's killing me. But this is some wild shit. Like, first off, I didn't realize they didn't use periods in 1873, because that's just one sentence. I was going to stop when I found a sentence. I realized that there was no period used at any time. Oh, no, it's down here. There's a period right here. I found it. 5/6 of the way down. So yeah, that long-winded, nonsensical thing is in the Federal Criminal Code, Section 211, enacted in 1873. That is the part of the Comstock laws, which we all technically have to supposedly follow, I guess. And people with psychotic and theocratic intentions want it to be held up, because we're all being too lascivious for them. It is unfortunate, but real. And hopefully the Supreme Court will knock it down, but knowing what they've been doing lately, I have not a lot of faith. If you were to ask me, somewhere between not a lot and fuck all. Okay. Okay, this next one, sticking with healthcare, is relating to the Philadelphia District Attorney, which is suing pharmaceutical companies over insulin prices. Oh, thank God. Someone's doing something good.
Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner announced a lawsuit today against several big pharmaceutical companies, alleging they are colluding to keep insulin prices artificially high. Krasner is suing more than a dozen pharmaceutical companies and prescription providers under the Consumer Protection Act. He says the cost of manufacturing insulin has declined while the cost for patients has skyrocketed. Jesse Braxton, a teacher at Central High School, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was a child. Braxton says the average out-of-pocket cost for a vial of insulin is nearly $300. And for him, that lasts about 3 weeks.
Because of this, I have organized my life around having access to quality insurance, knowing that even a short lapse in health coverage could cost me thousands of dollars. I love being a teacher.
The lawsuit is seeking restitution and fines against the companies, which could add up to hundreds of millions of dollars.
Good for him. Good for him. I really, you know, nice to hear somebody who's in government doing something good, not just for themselves, but for everybody. Although it does sound like maybe it affects him a little bit, but either way, if it gets it done, it gets it done, okay? And good to see you all showing up. Good to see you. Okay. Is that it for medicine-related healthcare stuff? Haven't seen any measles stuff pop up lately, so fingers crossed on that. This next one is, we're not going to watch the whole thing, I don't think, but this was a 60 minutes piece. Oh, I just realized I'm probably going to get fucking copy struck. They're always copy striking me. How is it that they can do that? They're like a news organization. Bunch of dicks. We're going to try. We're going to try. Watch this one. This is entitled Mexican President Takes Aim at U.S. Politicians.
"60 Minutes Overtime."
Have you all achieved 20 likes yet? Have you earned Cisco? Yeah, I can't see it. It looks like you are close. Nope, 16. 16, you're 4 away.
Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador is widely known by his initials, AMLO. His policies play a major role in U.S. politics as immigration and border security become key issues in this year's presidential election. Some American politicians have used Mexico as a talking point and a punching bag on the campaign trail. In our conversation with López Obrador for this week's 60 Minutes, we asked him about some of the times American politicians have invoked his country, including Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, who last month said he urged President Biden to reestablish a program requiring migrants to wait out their asylum cases south of the border.
The answer is simple. You reinstate remain in Mexico. I told the president that at the White House again. Said he couldn't do it. I said, that's not true. Well, Mexico doesn't want that. Mr. President, we're the United States. Mexico will do what we say.
No. El señor legislador. Sí. Es un irrespetuoso.
Okay, that's literally all I wanted of that. I just thought it was hilarious to have him go, Mr. Mike Johnson, no. Yeah, the speaker, C. Yes, he sucks. Okay. It was very serious. You're welcome, Jet. Okay. This next one is a little bit frustrating. I'm sure you will be frustrated by it, perhaps. This next video came out a few hours ago, I think. No, a little bit longer. This is from MSNBC. Actually, no, the first one is also... Yeah, I might skip this one. I don't need to do it. I'm just going to go to the second one. This is from MSNBC, entitled Absolute Gross Miscarriage of Justice. Trump bond lowered by $289 million. With more time. What a deal.
So I greatly respect the...
I'm being told right now that that bond, that $500 million bond that had been set and that the former president had to deal with today, has now been reduced to $175 million. So that $465 million plus bond that he was looking at has now been reduced. As of right now, we're getting this breaking news. This appeals court allowing the former president to post a smaller bond of $175 million within 10 days. David, what does that tell you?
Jose, it tells me something that you and I have talked about before, and that is the playbook is different for former President Trump. We were literally talking about this the last time you and I discussed this case. I expect for them to do something for him that's different than what you see for everybody else when they go to court. So here, he's given more.
Yeah, I would like anybody here. Well, actually, no, don't do this. But just think about it as a thought experiment. Consider that somehow you've committed a crime that reaches the level of what Trump has done in this case. And then you complain a little bit, and the judge is like, "Oh, you're right," and decides to give you a reduced fine and more time and blah blah blah. That's how the justice system works, right? For everybody, right? Am I losing my mind? That's normal justice.
Time to pay less money.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And Tristan, so what does that process look like in the courtroom there?
Do we even need to ask? I mean, honestly, this is so infuriating. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know if I care what the process is that these judges are arriving at. Whatever it is, it's flawed. I can tell you that much. I mean, David put it well. This is a different process for this person. We have decided that he gets his own private court of justice. He has a private plane. He has private clubs that he lives in. You know, apparently, you know, he basically fashioned himself his own private militia to try to take over the Capitol. You know, now he's getting his own private system of justice. This is an absolute travesty. It would not happen for anybody else. Anybody else, it would be like, sorry, buddy, you lost, pay up. For him, he gets his own set of rules.
Legally, Tristan, how is that done?
We just saw it. They just decided that the appellate court has now just decided they're going to swoop in and just change it. And that's it. And
wait, you're saying we have a two-tier justice system, James Fox? I don't think I've even seen you in this chat before, but that's a good point. I think that's crazy. What? Two-tier justice? The poor get jail while Trump gets to hang out at Mar-a-Lago sipping Mai Tais or whatever it is that he drinks. Yeah, it is a crock of shit. You're right. It's right.
And the bus is full of Pepe. Now the AG's office can now try to go up above them. I believe, you know, I don't know what the details are because you just told us. I'm guessing this is coming from the First Department, Appellate Division, First Department. That's
Pitchforks is making a very valid point right now. I don't want to go any further in the stream until we point this out. What kind of monster didn't like the stream? You're holding back all of chat. A 20th like would achieve a second support character. We've only got Scott Bakula here, and he's trying to help, but he can only do so much. Oh, there's a 20th like. Oh my god. As I was saying it, Cisco. All right, we got Captain Benjamin Sisko. There we go. There we go. All right, chat. Well done. By the way, just for fun, just because it was requested, check this one out. It's hiding. This is a sneak peek. Angela Lansbury. Angela. Okay.
Intermediate court here in New York that would be issuing a decision here. I don't know if there's a remedy for the AG's office to go up to the Court of Appeals, which is our high court here in New York, and try to get them to basically countermand this order. But in my view, this is, without knowing more, unless there's some sort of other extenuating circumstance that we're going to learn here, this appears to be an absolute gross miscarriage of justice.
So let's go into it, because I'm getting right now, and this literally is just coming across. So this is indeed the Supreme Court of the state of New York, Appellate Division, First Judicial Department, and there are 5 present, including the presiding judge, Diane Renwick. And I'm just getting it right now, and we can kind of learn it.
So if you're understanding this, an appellate court, so a separate court that wasn't the court that originally ruled on this, came in and said, no. That's too much and not enough time for Trumpy. He needs more time. He needs more time.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Gather as we see it. It says the appeals having been taken to this court from an order of the Supreme Court of New York County entered on or about February 16th, and defendants appellants having moved pursuant to CPLR 5519 to stay enforcement of the order and ensuring judgment. Upon reading and filing the papers with respect to the motion and deliberation, it is ordered that the motion is granted the extent of staying enforcement of these portions of the judgment, ordering disgorgement of to the Attorney General of $464,576,000, conditioned on defendants posting within 10 days of the date of this order an undertaking in the amount of $175 million permanently.
Okay, I think you get it, chat. I think you fucking get it. Donald Trump gets to do literally whatever he wants. NBD. Whoa. What is happening? There we go. What's next? Oh, okay. This is, this is another MSNBC. Somehow, this is odd. I feel like we watch almost no MSNBC reports on this. We got 2 of them in the same show. Crazy. Okay, another MSNBC one, entitled Shockwave. Trump criminal verdict coming before election. This is from 3 hours ago. Regarding, I believe it's a separate, is it the separate trial? There's so many fucking trials, it's hard to keep track of it. Come on, chat, you know where I'm at with that. I feel like we're all there. Wait, which trial are we talking about? Huh?
Defendant Donald Trump has gotten some good news from a legal perspective for him and some bad news. And it's all happening today because he has so many cases and challenges going that sometimes, well, it rains legal news. Now, let's start with these 2 New York cases. Trump was back in court in New York for a hearing in that big hush money case. And this is the bad news Trump got today, even if the court sketch artist caught him smiling or smirking or just making whatever face you call that, according to the sketch. No cameras, of course, allowed in New York courtrooms. Now, this is the criminal charges that the DA, Alvin Bragg, brought in New York, dating all the way back to what the DA argues is a kind of democracy crime, election crime, when you stack it all together with the secret hush money payments and assorted related alleged lies about all of that were made to Stormy Daniels, dating back to 2016. Here's what's new tonight, and we didn't know this until, well, late today. The trial is back on. Trump's delay tactics have failed. The judge ordering an April 15th trial date, which is a rejection of the many ways that Donald Trump's lawyers argued it should have been much later. Everyone has seen those delay tactics, and as I've told you, in some courtrooms they have worked.
People from China, they love me.
Failed today. Now, if you're thinking, wait, I did hear this was supposed to start earlier, that's true. If you keep track of this kind of thing, and I can tell you Donald Trump's lawyers and a lot of other people in the news were, the original trial date was actually for today. It was delayed not because of Donald Trump's efforts, but because some new documents on the government side came to light. And as you may recall, the DA said, okay, in fairness, we're not going to try to stick to the exact same date. Now, the Trump delay tactic was trying to seize on that relatively small administrative matter and say they needed months and months and months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think you all get that. Yes, you're right. Who said that? Stefan. Stephen? I feel like we still didn't actually nail down whether you're Stephen or Stefan. So I'm going to be in limbo on your name. But yeah, you're right. A drop of water in a 5-gallon bucket of negative Trump news. Unless you're talking about in reverse. Oh wait, you said positive Trump news. Maybe. My brain just broke. I'm trying to do too many things at once, chat. I'm just gonna push through it all. Okay. This next one is a little bit of Elon Musky, little Elon Musky news from Reuters an hour ago. Said Musk loses suit against hate speech watchdog. Whoopsies.
A U.S. judge on Monday threw out a lawsuit filed by Elon Musk against a nonprofit group that tracks online hate speech. In his decision, the judge said it was, quote, evident that Musk sued the Center for Countering Digital Hate because he didn't like that it faulted him for allowing a rise in hate speech on his platform X, formerly known as Twitter, and he thought CCDH's research would hurt the platform's image and scare off advertisers.
This is from 12
The judge
Rules
wrote,
for Life.
Quote, X Corp has brought this case in order to punish CCDH for CCDH publications that criticized X Corp, and perhaps in order to dissuade others who might wish to engage in such criticism. The decision is a blow for Musk, who has styled himself as a champion of free speech. But since paying $44 billion for Twitter in 2022, Musk has faced widespread criticism for firing staff at X who policed misinformation
he's such an idiot.
and for allowing more.
He's such an idiot. He had it all. He had the tweet was in the dictionary. It was all going. He owned a company that somehow permeated the ether around the entire world, and then he decided, no, that's not good enough. I'm the one who has to come up with the name, and destroyed everything in front of him.
Harmful and abusive posts. Musk's own speech has often drawn complaints. In November 2023, he endorsed an anti-Semitic post on X that said members of the Jewish community were stoking hatred against white people, saying the user spoke, quote, the actual truth. Musk has denied being anti-Semitic and sought to make amends, including in a January visit to the former Nazi death camp Auschwitz in southern Poland. While there, he claimed the platform was making progress.
The outside audits that we've had done, at least the ones that we've had done, show.
Okay, that's enough of that. This guy's a fucking idiot. Okay. Moving along. There's been a couple of good newses along with all the bad news as usual, but you know, it's nice. It's nice to hear when something goes right somewhere. What am I doing next? Yes. Oh, right. So this is a new addition to this is a late addition, I should say, to my list. I had things figured out, and then I saw this, and I think someone else has already covered it slightly today, but I'm just gonna look at this real quick from CNN. A video showing federal agents raiding Sean Diddy Combs's homes. Oh, Diddy, how you've fallen from grace.
Breaking news, the Department of Homeland Security has just confirmed to CNN that federal law enforcement agents have raided properties owned by musician and producer Sean Diddy Combs. Let's bring in CNN security correspondent Josh Campbell and CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson. Josh, let me start with you. What do these raids by federal agents in multiple locations tell you about the seriousness of this investigation?
Yeah, Wolf, a very significant development here, seeing this law enforcement action taking place. I'll point out, just to be clear at the outset, we don't know that Sean Diddy Combs himself is the subject or target of a federal investigation. So it's just worth pointing that out at this hour.
It's probably his gardener. His gardener's probably got like a meth lab or something. It can't possibly be him. That would be weird.
I don't want reality. What we do know is that two properties associated with him, we saw the feds descend on those properties. We saw on aerial footage, federal agents both here in the Los Angeles area as well as in Miami at those residences. Now, the Department of Homeland Security, their what's called HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, gave CNN a statement.
Did he do it? Wow. Wow, Stefan. Wow. That deserves this. It's impressive.
part of that when asked about what this activity is. They say that earlier today, HSI New York executed law enforcement actions as part of an ongoing investigation with assistance from HSI Los Angeles, HSI Miami, and our local law enforcement partners. That is it, confirming that they are conducting what they're deeming law enforcement action, which could indicate search warrants being conducted there, could indicate arrests being conducted. We just don't know at this hour specifically what that law enforcement action is. It is worth pointing out, though, that Combs himself obviously has faced significant legal woes in recent months. I'll give you just a kind of the highlights of what actually occurred. In November, he was sued for rape and abuse by a former partner. That lawsuit was then settled very quickly. But in December, he faced sexual assault allegations in a complaint filed in the Southern District of New York. The suit was brought by a woman referred to as Jane Doe, who said that she was 17 at the time when these allegations took place back in 2003. He was accused of sex trafficking and gang rape, among other allegations, also in that suit naming two of his associates. Of course, Combs.
Yeah, so did he? Did he do it? It's not looking good, I'll tell you that much. And there's a bunch more to this, but I don't really feel like getting deep into it, but I think we all get the point. Multiple allegations of a sexual nature, and apparently some allegations of trafficking and other things. And not talking about drugs, people. We're talking about humans. For sex.
Cacao.
Okay, what's next? I'm not fully prepared to tackle that whole thing right now. But yeah, it's not good. Not good for Diddy. This next one, this is going to take us into some climate-related news from around the world. First one, though, in America, from 23 hours ago, where a tornado touched down near Perryton.
National Weather Service confirmed a tornado touchdown this afternoon near Perryton. This is the Ochiltree General Hospital just outside of Perryton to the south. The tornado damaged its roof, scattering debris all over the ground. The hospital says the ER and clinic are unaffected and all patients are safe and accounted for. The Weather Service reports the tornado also damaged a barn and a center pivot was knocked over. The town is still recovering after a tornado hit in June, killing 3 people and injuring dozens.
Okay,
Land crossed into the Bay of
Bengal
and became.
Pause. Wait, do I start with this? Why do I have it here? You know what? Yeah, let's watch this. I might watch this on 1.25. Probably skip around a little bit. But considering everything we've been talking about relating to the climate, it felt necessary to discuss further and in depth and look back only a year. But this is from WION, W-I-O-N, Wide Angle, 2023 Extreme Weather Events. They do a look back on all of the crazy environmental shit that happened just last year. So let's take a look at this. I think AC is right on with that. Diddy did it is going to become a meme. That is it's like a Nostradamus-esque sort of prediction, I think.
2023 has been a year of extreme climate events. We've experienced unforeseen weather emergencies across the globe that took thousands of lives and caused billions of dollars in economic damage. Torrential rains pounded the densely packed city of Hong Kong. For the first time in 50 years, Greece sizzled in the hottest July weekend. In fact, the Earth's temperatures was off the charts this year as well. And scientists confirmed that 2023 is officially the hottest year on record. The Canadian forest was ravaged. Millions of hectares reduced to ashes in fires ignited by lightning storms. Cyclone Mishong caused devastation, flooding several parts of the capital city of India's Tamil Nadu state. Torrential rains, floods, heat waves, wildfires, cyclones. We saw them all this year. Hello and a very warm welcome to this special episode of Beyond Wide Angle. I'm Raisha Sehgal, and over the next half an hour, we look back at what on earth was happening on planet Earth in 2023, as parts of it were battered by extreme weather conditions. The question being, were these events connected to climate change? And more importantly, are the events of extreme weather conditions preventable? We explore the answers to all these questions and much more on the show.
The year 2023 saw floods lashing several parts of the globe. From the horrific scenes of destruction in Himachal Pradesh in July to Australia's heaviest rainfall in decades in December, flooding is threatening lives all over the world. We look at some of the visuals of nature's wrath caught on camera this year.
Deadly floods hit many parts of the world in 2023.
The editing is weird. I have it on 1.25 right now. I can put it back on regular if it's bothering people.
In India, a brutal monsoon brought several states across northern India to a standstill. Rivers swept into towns, buildings collapsed, vehicles, bridges and roads, they were all washed away. From the unimaginable destruction in Himachal Pradesh to the shocking visuals of devastating floods in Libya, which killed more than 4,000 people and left many thousands missing. 2023 was a year of climate extremes.
In December 2023, Australia's northern region witnessed its heaviest rain in decades as families were left stranded on rooftops overnight. Crocodiles were spotted swimming through main streets as floodwaters hit Queensland's far north. Some rivers had swollen to record levels, flooding homes, severing roads and power, and forcing people to flee houses in boats. Cairns, a city of over 150,000 people, was almost entirely cut off by the heavy rains. The downpour was attributed to remnants of tropical cyclone Jasper. In the month of September, a typhoon ripped through Hong Kong, uprooting trees and flooding the city. Hong Kong, the Chinese Special Administrative Region, saw the highest rainfall since records began 140 years ago. Just across the border in southeastern China, the tech hub Shenzhen recorded the heaviest rains since 1952.
I'm just going to skip ahead.
Tropical cyclones, also known as typhoons or hurricanes, are among the most destructive weather phenomena. According to a recent report by the World Weather Department, Cyclone Mocha in the Bay of Bengal was one of the most severe cyclones globally in 2023. It displaced 1.7 million people across the sub-region, from Sri Lanka to Myanmar through India and Bangladesh. Cyclones are also common along the coast of India.
When Crocs can't deal with the water, you know you got a problem. No, 100%, 100%. So I'm gonna skip ahead to this.
For cyclonic formations.
Oh, good seeing you and/or meet. I feel like you were a new chatter, James Fox. So good seeing you. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Well, the summer of 2023 was the hottest on record. According to the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, the month of July 2023 was confirmed as the hottest month ever recorded, shattering every other past record. The sweltering heat had a global impact, with record temperatures registered from Death Valley in California to a township in northwest China that endured temperatures of more than 52 degrees Celsius. Well, experts say that the pressure on world leaders to curb planet heating, greenhouse gas pollution has never been more urgent.
The year 2023 was officially declared the hottest by the climate change service Copernicus, run by the European Union. This year's added global warming has almost been like pouring gasoline on a fire. Extreme weather was made more extreme. Warmer ocean waters fed stronger storms, and heat waves persisted for weeks instead of days. This year, heat waves ripped all through Europe, the United States, and Asia, threatening homes and livelihoods across the world. A heatwave is defined by the Meteorological Office, United Kingdom's National Weather Service, as an uninterrupted period of exceptionally high temperatures. A threshold temperature describes a heatwave, and different countries define it differently. The threshold has to be exceeded 3 days in a row for it to be called a heatwave. If it doesn't last 3 days, it's referred to as a hot spell. In 2023, Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, Laos, and Thailand became most vulnerable to heat waves. In late spring, the Hoi Xuan region of Vietnam recorded a temperature of 44.1 degrees Celsius, breaking the 2019 record of 43.4 degrees. Thailand saw its hottest day in history at 45.4 degrees Celsius in April. And Vietnam's record was broken in early May.
I'm just going to move us forward again.
Devastating wildfires swept the globe this summer, from Nepal in Asia to Hawaii in the Pacific. Canada experienced its worst ever wildfire season, with fires burning through the largest area of land since official records began in 1983. The fires were so widespread and severe that they covered New York City and parts of Europe with hazy, smoky skies. It made air quality unhealthy in many regions in Canada, down to the mid-Atlantic and southern regions of the United States. New York City air pollution ranked the worst for any city in the world on some days in June, as wildfire smoke from Canada covered the city in a sooty haze. Canada experiences a...
Okay. I really just wanted us to watch that, just to remind us of how bad 2023 was, just to give us some sort of reminder, if you will, as we head into the spring and things start to get warmer. This next one is from 22 hours ago. Death toll in a southeastern Brazil flood jumps to 23 after heavy rains. It's from yesterday. Oh man, I can't even begin to imagine what it's like to be down there and all that right there. It's basically just mud. There's no more, doesn't appear to be a lot of road.
A gente teve prejuízo aqui, a vida das pessoas, a gente...
We've had the loss of people's lives. The situation is chaotic. Mimoso has never been through this before. So if you understood that, if you didn't understand that, the mayor there, I believe, was saying that this sort of flooding has never happened in their area before. So, you know, it's the effects of, I mean, not everything is necessarily the effects of climate change, but it does seem like it, at least in this case, like it probably is, considering more extreme weather events and places unexpected. Anyways, this one is supposed to help uplift us. This is a burst of pink peach blossoms welcomes Northern Greece into spring. Peaceful.
Γιορτάζουμε την Άνοιξη με τον καλύτερο τρόπο που μπορεί να γιορτάσει κανείς. Με την ανθοφορία στα 170.000 στρέμματα που
We
υπάρχουν
celebrate
στον
spring in
τάφο
the
της
best way
Αμαθίας.
possible with the flowering of 170,000 blossoms. The goal is to create tourist value out of the farm product.
Έχουμε καταφέρει να εγκαθιδρύσουμε
I think we
τον
succeeded in
τουρισμό
making
της
flowers
θέσης των
part of
λουλουδιών
Greece's
στην Ελλάδα.
tourism. I just thought it was beautiful and a reminder of what we're fighting for, you know, the beauty of nature. It provides us with, you know, all sorts of stuff. Not just functionality. Sometimes it's just, you know, makes you happy. Anyway, I'm trying to keep this light for no reason at all. This next one is a very stark sort of visual. This is from the AP from 10 hours ago. Time-lapse video shows northern lights shining over erupting Iceland volcano. Come on. You can't tell me that's not amazing. How cool is that? Come on. What? I think that's beautiful. That's just me. Okay. Well, let's see. What else we got here? Yeah. Honestly, I've got some semi-happy news I've been going through. Granted, this isn't necessarily happy. It's a combination of bad and good. People being resourceful. This is AP from a day ago. Kenyans in dry regions are building sand dams on seasonal rivers. Residents in drought-prone regions. I wasn't reading. I was reading chat. Dang it. That's on me. It's on me, chat. Don't blame yourselves. Residents in drought-prone regions of Kenya are building sand dams on seasonal rivers to make water available year-round. The building up of sand behind the dam, typically made of concrete, creates an artificial aquifer that fills up during rainy seasons. Now, this is the kind of geoengineering that we need to be considering doing in all sorts of places, not even necessarily in drought-stricken places, but as a, what do you call it? Proactive measure to combat future problems, right? In places where we might predict there being drought problems. Anyway.
When you do a sand dam, anything below 1 meter of sand doesn't evaporate. So communities are able to access water within the sand dams during the driest month of the year, compared to open ponds where it will dry, or drilling of bores where the water salinity level increases as the year dries up.
Nauma bamusina siana siakwa. Tukavi mpaka kuya Kimani, kuya kiwichumete maviani. Atiendete kuonziani siana sianda yitulangwa mavia. Tukayitoka utakiwu.
It's not gonna. What are you talking about? It's absolutely gonna work. This is a proven strategy. It doesn't have to be sand, it can be gravel. But it's about creating a cooler
Cal?
Oops, no. Okay. What's next? Do we do space or do we do silly? Okay, let's watch this next one real quick. This is of a Russian rocket that recently made a trek to the ISS. We were talking about this earlier. They finally decided to go. Previously, they had said they had electrical issues.
Пока ожидаем АКГ 15 минут. Только после этого продолжим.
Олег, we need to stand by now for 15 minutes.
Еще раз, ожидаем АКГ 15 минут, верно? Да, да, все верно. И потом
Wait, I could have sworn there was footage of it making contact with the craft.
15 minutes. This is correct.
Oh, it's back here. Alright, let's just watch this part of it.
I'm closing. Angular size matches the range.
Well, there goes the neighborhood, folks. Russia's up here now. Just kidding. This next one is I've got a bunch of silly ones in here. Well, I don't know what's up with me today. I'm feeling silly. This next piece is from the Associated Press from 20 hours ago, where Paris has resumed its century-old tradition of the bistro waiter race. Very important. And they're coming up the stretch right now. You can see that this guy he's always struggling with oh, he almost gets knocked into by number 13 over here. Oh my god, the race is on.
C'est une course de la fête, c'est une course de l'histoire de Paris dans sa tradition et sa modernité.
It's a party race. It's a historical race. It's a tradition and it's modernity.
Le bistrot à Paris, c'est un art de vivre.
Bistro is a way of life for Paris.
Premier, mesdames, messieurs, voici quelle belle image de sport avec ceux qui vont écrire une nouvelle page. Et voici parmi nous.
Woo! Okay. Just trying to interject non-doom in between the doom, as it just seems like there's so much lately, and we're about to force you into some stuff after this next video. This one is this next one is a somewhat long video. We're gonna have to skip around a little bit, but this is from real life lore. Now, I have a couple of objections to the way he tends to frame things sometimes, but is definitely a source of information regardless. So this is a video from 2 days ago entitled "Why France is Actually Preparing for War with Russia." Let's listen. This goes into a lot of history regarding Africa. Oh, son of a bitch. You're gonna do this to me?
3-minute part covering exactly how...
Shh, don't do that. Okay.
As most of the world's attention remains focused on the major wars still ongoing in Ukraine and Gaza, there is another massive proxy war going on right now between the French and the Russians across the African continent that also has the potential to send shockwaves around the entire rest of the world. For a moment last July in 2023, the world's attention was briefly focused on this emerging proxy war between Moscow and Paris when military officers in Niger, a large landlocked country in West Africa, orchestrated a coup d'etat and overthrew the country's government. It was a particularly shocking development because Niger was the 6th country in only 3 years since 2020 in Africa's Sahel region to experience its government getting successfully overthrown in a coup. Following the previous successful coups that toppled governments in Mali in 2020 and 2021, in Chad, Sudan, and Guinea all in 2021, then in Burkina Faso in 2022, and then finally in Niger in 2023, which established this continuous belt of recently couped countries across the whole of Africa, from the Red Sea to the Atlantic, a geopolitical region that some analysts have started to controversially refer to as Africa's coup belt. And after the coup overthrew the government in Niger in July of 2023, another coup broke out nearby in Gabon only a month later in August that overthrew the longtime government there as well. The coup belt overlaps some of the most violent conflicts going on in the world that tragically fail to attract the international attention that they deserve. With an apocalyptic civil war still raging in Sudan between rival generals that exploded in April of 2023, and with large swaths of territory across Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger currently dominated by radical Islamist factions like ISIS and Al-Qaeda, that might be on the brink of unilaterally declaring their own independent jihadist states. After the collapse of ISIS in Iraq and Syria, and after the expulsion of Al-Qaeda from Afghanistan, both groups have reformed themselves and recentered their primary territorial bases of operations away from the Middle East towards here in the Sahel region.
Okay. Hold on. We got a bunch of places in here. It's an hour-long video, so no way we're watching the whole thing right now. But trying to think of where we should start. I think right around here next. Maybe actually a little further.
Wave of anti-French sentiment sweeps across the continent, and in nearly every instance, the expulsion of French troops and French ambassadors have been met with a welcoming of hundreds to even thousands of new Russian troops from the mercenary Wagner Group in the newly rebranded Russian Africa Corps to fight against the ongoing insurgencies instead, as the spaces on the board in West Africa begin rapidly shifting like falling dominoes away from France's sphere of influence and towards Russia's. It's a complicated proxy war that overlaps the struggles between West African nations, tribes, and ethnicities themselves, that is directly challenging France's long, profitable, and largely invisible neo-colonial domination over their former directly ruled colonies in Africa, that has continued on for generations after most Westerners believed it all ended.
So we've definitely talked about some of the effects of colonialism in Africa, definitely with France, Germany, and some other countries, more specifically Britain, but not in a great deal of depth. This definitely gets into it, especially as it pertains to France and Russia.
Directly threatening the foundation that France has built its prosperity upon for centuries. and it appears to be a theater of Russia's war with the West that Moscow is currently winning, and that hardly anybody in the Western world ever reports on or really even understands. And so, in order for you to understand why Russia is beating France here, why the Sahel region of Africa has become so unstable in the 2020s, and why it's all so important to the outcome of both Europe and Africa's future, it helps to understand the uniquely exploitative history of French colonialism in Africa, and the uniquely long-lasting vestiges of French neo-colonialism in Africa that have persisted long past all of the other former European colonial regimes in Africa into the present day, and how this all intersects with geography, climate change, and Russia's own current geopolitical objectives and ambitions. The Sahel region is a very long and narrow band of arid land that runs across the African continent for more than 3,500 kilometers or 2,200 miles from the Red Sea in the east to the Atlantic in the west. It is a biogeographical transitional zone between the vast deserts of the Sahara to the north and the wet savannas and rainforests further to the south. And its name Sahel is derived from the Arabic word for shoreline, the shore of the sandy Sahara Sea. Across thousands of years of history, inland trading ports on this shore of the Sahara made the region an epicenter of global trade, and one of the wealthiest regions in the world. Cities like Timbuktu and Gao in modern-day Mali became major trading hubs in the medieval period between sub-Saharan Africa and the Mediterranean, as vast camel trains carried the region's natural and human resources like gold, ivory, and slaves northward and luxury goods southward, which brought enough wealth and prosperity to the Sahel that Timbuktu was once one of the biggest cities in the world in the 14th century, and it was the core of the empire of Mansa Musa, who is often regarded as potentially having been the richest human being to have ever lived. But then, beginning in the 15th century, European trading vessels began sailing down the African west coast and opened up new maritime trading routes for these resources between sub-Saharan Africa and the European world instead. The trade routes shifted from the inland ports in Timbuktu and Gao towards the new maritime ports in places like Ghana and Ivory Coast, and the economic fortunes of the Sahel began declining over the following centuries. By the time of the Berlin Conference in the late 19th century, the relatively small French colonial empire in Africa that had already been established in modern-day Algeria, Senegal, and Gabon was dramatically expanded along arbitrary lines to cover nearly the entirety of the continent's west and the vast...
Okay. Sorry, chat. I'm just going to move it forward just a slight bit here, just so that we're not watching the thing in entirety.
It was regarded as a core integral part of France, the same way as Paris. Hundreds of thousands of European French settlers came to colonize Algeria following the 1848 annexation, to the point where by 1959, still under French control, there were around 1.4 million French settlers present in Algeria, who represented about 13% of...
Yes, Mona, that's one of the things about this guy, is that he says some things with the confidence and with the lack of tone, I guess, that frustrates the hell out of me sometimes. But he in my estimation, this guy, because I've seen a bunch of his videos, he's just going by quote unquote the book, even though oftentimes the book is either contested or problematic. But he often just kind of skips past the problematic parts, which frustrates me. But the historical context is valuable. Especially in this current climate in Africa and Eastern Europe.
Algeria's entire population at the time. After the conclusion of World War II, in which France had been occupied by Nazi Germany for years, the French economy was in ruins, and France's post-war leaders sought to use their vast colonial project in Africa to maintain their status as a global great power going forward, and to try competing with the Americans and the Soviets as much as possible. Part of this included France's idea to push back against the US-dominated global financial system that emerged after the war by establishing a brand new currency for all of their African colonies in 1945 that they called the CFA franc, an acronym that in French stood for the French Colonies in Africa franc. The CFA franc to be used in France's African colonies was to be pegged directly to the French currency, the French franc, in a way that was deliberately designed to strengthen the French franc against the US dollar in the post-war world. The French franc was devalued near the end of 1945 in order to establish a fixed exchange rate with the US dollar. And by 1948, the CFA franc was pegged to the French franc at a rate of 2 French francs to 1 CFA franc, which spared the CFA franc from going through the same devaluation as the French franc did and deliberately overvalued the CFA franc relative to the French franc. Essentially, what this meant in practice was that the colonies using the CFA franc would experience higher costs to export their raw materials to anywhere that wasn't France, since France would benefit from the frictionless conversion between their currencies, which ultimately crushed the competitiveness of CFA franc user exports to
Weird, it's like they somehow engineered that to make it so that it benefited them. Shocking.
Anywhere that wasn't France, while at the same time, it also made the colonies' imports of manufactured goods from France less expensive than from anywhere else, which essentially enabled France to import raw materials from their African colonies for below market rates and then sell them back finished products for above market rates. And with the direct convertibility of the CFA franc being directly pegged to the French franc, French companies could open up mines and operations in the colonies and extract their resources, while easily sending their profits back home to France without the fear of foreign exchange fluctuations. It was a great system and deal for the French, and it enabled Paris to partially fund their post-World War II economic recovery through a rather sly wealth transfer from their African colonies to themselves. But by the mid-1950s, there was increasing sentiment rising among the Africans for their independence from Europe. In the beginning, France initially responded to these calls for independence in their colonies with overwhelming violence. In 1954, Algeria rose up in a revolution to shake off the French settler colonial project there, and what followed was a brutal 7-year war for independence. The French were particularly ruthless in crushing the Algerian independence movement because Paris still officially considered Algeria to be a core integral territory of France itself. The French army committed...
Exactly. Okay. I'm going to push this forward a little bit further. But I think you're all starting to get the picture here. Even though we're still not that far. We're like about the 1900s right now. Technically, after supposedly most of France's colonies were gone. Well, many of them, but not all of them. But we got more to go. Oh man. Alright, fuck it. We're going to watch this part too.
Independence. Each of these colonies were then offered so-called cooperation agreements by Paris that would define their future relationship with France going forward post-independence. These agreements differed from colony to colony. They sometimes granted French companies continued privileged access to their natural resources. They sometimes enabled the French to continue maintaining military bases in their countries. But they always advised the colonies to continue remaining within the CFA franc financial system. The colonies accepting these cooperation agreements and remaining within the CFA franc system after 1958 was and has always been presented by the French as being a supposedly completely voluntary arrangement, where they were all free to say yes or no post-independence. But the French also made it extremely clear what would end up happening to any of these future countries post-independence if they rejected the arrangement. Guinea was the only one of France's colonies in Africa who flat-out rejected France's offers post-independence in 1958, including remaining within the CFA franc system, with Guinea's then leader, Sékou Touré, defiantly declaring during a speech in front of France's then president Charles de Gaulle that he preferred to be poor in freedom rather than rich in slavery. And the French decided to make as painful an example out of him and of Guinea as possible. The French agreed to fully withdraw from Guinea and granted them their independence early. But on the way out, they deliberately tore down and destroyed everything that they could that they considered to have been French contributions to Guinea society.
Disgusting.
They destroyed machinery, burned their plans for the capital's sewage system, destroyed their medicine rather than leave it behind, and even unscrewed their...
It's the most selfish... It's one of the most selfish things I think I've ever heard of. And I feel like I'm covering selfish shit constantly every single day. But it's like, oh shit, whoopsies. Sorry, chat. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, it's just it is mind-boggling the level of selfishness it is to take and take and take and take from, you know, a region, to insert yourself into that region, to create government and currency without the real express permission of the people. And then when they decide that they're not a fan of you. They don't want anything to do with that. You destroy everything that you ever like even had any kind of hand in. And it's fucking insane. It's just so gross. Okay, we're gonna watch a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna be done. But this is the part that I really wanted us to kind of see, and then one other part. So.
Light bulbs in their offices and took them all back to France. All French foreign aid to Guinea was eliminated, and after Guinea subsequently turned towards the Soviet Union and the Eastern Bloc for financial experts to help them develop their own independent currency in 1959, the French took it as a direct threat to their CFA franc system, and so they began flooding Guinea with counterfeited Guinean currency to try and generate hyperinflation and crash their economy. And they even started to begin arming Guinean rebels. And when responding to other threats in Africa against their neo-colonial system, the French responded with similar violent methods. A Cameroonian anti-colonialist leader of the era, named Félix Roland Morny, was assassinated by the French Secret Service in Switzerland in 1960.
Okay. I'm gonna zoom ahead a little bit here. Jesus. There's just so much garbage to cover. France, you've really done a number on Africa, gotta say. Shit, there might be 2 spots.
4 has remained the same ever since 1999, and remains set at €1 equals precisely 655.957 CFA francs. Modern proponents of the CFA franc system continuing, which are very often French or European, point to the fact that the CFA franc being pegged to the euro has helped keep these 14 African countries' currencies stable and kept their inflation rates low when compared to their neighbors. For example, the inflation rate in Ivory Coast, which has always remained a CFA franc user, has been markedly lower than what the inflation rate in neighboring Ghana has been, which has never been a CFA franc user. Equatorial Guinea and Guinea-Bissau, 2 countries that were never French colonies and were therefore not original members of the CFA franc, back when it was originally conceived of in 1945, each decided to join the CFA franc system later in 1985 and 1997 respectively, largely out of a desire to stabilize their own currency systems and to crush what at the time was their rampant inflation rates. The system is not completely without its merits, but the counter-arguments against the CFA franc that largely come from Africans themselves revolve around a lot of notable issues. For one thing, because their currencies are directly pegged to the euro, their monetary policies are effectively still outside of their own sovereignty, and are still decided by the European Central Bank in Frankfurt. And the European Central Bank has very different economic priorities than the CFA franc countries in Africa do. The European Central Bank is primarily interested.
I think we all probably aware of that to some degree, but at least the details of that I think are quite necessary. All right, where do we get back to this situation? Yes, right here. God damn. Why?
Challenges to the Françafrique system that had ever presented itself. If they had been successful, millions of refugees would have likely fled northward to Europe. The Tuaregs might have gotten more ambitious and begun expanding across their other ethnic lands like in Niger, where France's uranium mines are located that power millions of French homes with electricity. And so, at the request of the Malian government itself, the French decided to launch a major military intervention into Mali in 2013, to beat the rebels in Mali back and to restore control over the entire country to the Malian government. More than 5,000 French troops were rapidly deployed and quickly re-secured control over the country for the Malian government. And afterwards, the French settled in for a long counterinsurgency campaign in the Sahel that was ostensibly in place to push back against Islamist rebels in the area to defend the sovereignty of states like Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad. But was also to protect France's neo-colonial interests in the area, like the uranium in Niger and the continuation of the CFA franc financial system. At its peak, the French counterinsurgency operation in the Sahel in the late 2010s, codenamed Operation Barkhane, had 5,500 deployed French troops assisted by 5,000 more troops committed by the Sahel states themselves of Chad, Niger, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Mauritania. But that was only a little more than 10,000 total troops tasked with patrolling and monitoring a vast area of the African continent, roughly 1.9 million square miles in area, which is about 60% of the size of the continental 48 United States. Rest of northern Mali again. Within these countries, frustration steadily mounted at the lack of progress against the insurgencies that their governments and the French were achieving, which also revived old and hard feelings in them over the lasting negative impacts of France's neo-colonial practices in the area. As the insurgencies continued spiraling out of control, many Africans in these countries began wondering if the French were really there to protect the Africans at all.
Okay. That's basically exactly where I wanted to end it. I'm just going to give a little bit more context since I watched the whole thing and did a little bit more research myself. But the situation, the reason I wanted to even look at this in the first place is the fact that Russia is heavily involved in this situation. And maybe we should watch more of this just because it gets into that as well later on in this video. I just don't want to bog us down with too much, but essentially, over the last 10 years or so, Russia has been involved now in those same countries that France was originally colonizing and have been essentially using as neo-colonies up to this point. And then they've been arming different groups and fighting against the rebels that France had been originally fighting against, and creating inroads with the governments in a lot of the countries we've been talking about lately, like the Sudan and Chad and Niger. And that was originally done by the private enterprise of the Wagner Group, but after the death of him in the supposed plane crash, it was taken over by the Russian military. So now the Russian military is deeply entrenched by way of the Wagner Group's efforts during the 2010s, and are now in a very interesting territory war with France, essentially. And the essential conclusion of this video is that France is gearing up to potentially just start fighting Russia on a front in Africa. Oh boy, okay. And that information was quite up to date. It was from like 2 days ago. So granted, we were looking at most of the historical context stuff because I felt like that was the most valuable. I think we can all kind of come to our own conclusions about what it all means. Speaking of Africa, though, we're going to stick here. Democracy Now! Video from 12 hours ago. World ignores Sudanese hunger crisis. 230,000 children and mothers could die in the coming months. I'll say this.
Alex Duvall,
Not the whole world. The Galactic Stream Nation has been focusing on the Sudanese crisis for what feels like weeks now.
we're going to turn now from what's happening in Gaza. We'll link to your piece we're about to witness in Gaza, the most intense famine since the Second World War. We now turn to Sudan, where around half the population has become reliant on food aid. As the United Nations warns, the war-torn country is on track to become the world's worst hunger crisis.
Malnutrition is soaring to alarming levels and is already claiming children's lives. A recent MSF report revealed that one child is dying every 2 hours in Zamzam camp in El Fasher, North Darfur. Our humanitarian partners estimate that in the coming weeks and months,
I did not hear that in my first listening to this video. Did she say a child is dying every fucking hour? Hold the phone, chat. I gotta go back. What the fuck?
Around 222,000 children.
Why won't you just go back? There we go. Thank you.
Lives. A recent MSF report revealed that one child is dying every 2 hours in Zamzam camp in El Fasher, North Darfur. Our humanitarian partners estimate that in the coming weeks and months, somewhere in the region of around 222,000 children could die from malnutrition. And with the estimated WHO estimates that more than 70% of health facilities are not functional.
The conflict between the Sudanese military and the rival Rapid Support Forces, or RSF, erupted nearly a year ago on April 15th, 2023. It's displaced over 8 million people, around 90% of the population facing emergency levels of food insecurity in Sudan are in Khartoum, Darfur, and Kordofan, areas which have seen some of the most intense fighting. But the UN's appeal for $2.7 billion for Sudan is less than 5% funded. Aid's also drying up in Chad, where some 1.2 million Sudanese have taken refuge. The war has also led to many reports of armed forces using rape and sexual violence as a weapon, and some 19 million children have been deprived of school. Alex Duvall, famine is your area of expertise. You're executive director of the World Peace Foundation at Tufts University and author of the book Mass Starvation, The History and Future of Famine. What concerns you most about what's happening in Sudan right now?
So Sudan is a different kind of food crisis and famine compared to Gaza. This is one of enormous magnitude. The sheer numbers that are afflicted are hard to grapple with. Sudan is a country of almost 50 million people. Half of them are in emergency situation now. You said earlier, reliant on food aid. Frankly, unfortunately, the food aid is
25 million people right now. I knew how big Sudan was, but I didn't realize just how many people at this point had been displaced. For whatever reason, that number is still shocking to me.
not there. Even as we speak, the World Food Programme, which is the largest food aid producer, is cutting its budget. It's cutting its staff by 30% because...
Yeah. Sorry about that, Pitchforks. I know you were drinking, and you were hugging, and now another ethnic cleansing slash mass starvation to look at. This is why I've been peppering in some happy videos during the stream today, because things are still doomerific as fuck out there, okay? I'm just trying to keep your spirits up so we can actually fight.
It's not getting the money it needs. It's not a perfect system by any means, but it's the only system that we've got. And what particularly alarms me about Sudan are really three things. Number one is that, unlike previous food crises in Sudan, the actual core of the economy is being destroyed. The breadbasket of Sudan is not functioning, is not growing food. Secondly, it's a crisis not just in Sudan. Most of the neighbors are affected. You mentioned Chad, also South Sudan, formerly part of Sudan, is also facing a major food emergency.
I forgot that there's two Sudans now too. God damn it, Africa. Africa's still just breaking up into multiple different countries. Like, the map has changed multiple times since I was in high school. I know that. It's like it's like the former Soviet Union during like the late 90s, early 2000s, where there's a lot of new-ish countries kind of showing up. Ah, God. And it's usually because of conflicts and bad stuff.
And Ethiopia next door at the same time. And we've never seen so many neighboring countries in this region descending into food emergency at the same time. And this is all happening while the international emergency system is being squeezed. It's facing major cuts. We are simply not responding as required. It's quite calamitous.
I wanted to go to a clip from UNICEF, which warns hundreds of thousands of Sudanese children are suffering from severe malnutrition. This is Jill Lawler, Chief of Field Operations and Emergency for UNICEF in Sudan.
The numbers of acutely malnourished children are rising, and the lean season hasn't even begun. Nearly 3.7 million children are projected to be acutely malnourished this year in Sudan, including 730,000 who need life-saving treatment. The needs for children in Khartoum alone are massive, but this is also true in Darfur.
You know, we've watched... Actually, did we watch this before? I think we did. I think we watched part of this before. So I'm going to skip it forward slightly.
Again, nearly 230,000 children, pregnant mothers, and new mothers could die, it's being predicted, in the next few months due to hunger.
Indeed, this is the largest sort of mass mortality crisis that we are facing in the world, and the largest that we have probably faced for.
I know that I'm pausing it during the middle of this. I'm going to go back because I couldn't even think about what this man's saying. Because listening to Amy talk about things, she manages to keep this very placid, sort of Mona Lisa-esque kind of face when she's saying the most atrocious things. But she manages to keep her tone of voice appropriate no matter what. And it's really, to me, it blows me away. Because she says some crazy shit. Like 230,000 children are in danger of dying. And meanwhile, it keeps her face just completely normal. She's just nuts. She's a true pro. I don't know how she does it, honestly. Because she's constant. I mean, more than I am. She's in the thick of it. I'm just regurgitating things.
Indeed, this is the largest sort of mass mortality crisis that we are facing in the world, and the largest that we have probably faced for many decades. Certainly, the largest since I started working on this topic 40 years ago, at the time of the Ethiopian and Sudanese famines that many will remember from the Live Aid concerts. How is it to be stopped? I mean, the two most immediate things are a ceasefire and the end to the destruction of what is necessary to sustain life and produce food in Sudan. And there doesn't seem to be much sign of that. There's not really much pressure.
You're right. Amy Goodman is a master of journalism, 100%. It's hard to deliver information in a positive way that happens to be tragic and terrible. And the thing is I don't have to worry about my face, okay? I could cry under my helmet and you would never know. That's one of the great things about delivering the news in a helmet.
On the warring parties to come to any sort of even basic agreement. They seem to want to continue to fight it out, and various countries are pouring in arms into the country to escalate the conflict. But the other is also to fund this humanitarian operation that is, as you mentioned, totally underfunded at the moment. There are almost no resources available to provide the necessities for people.
And in fact, the world...
Oh, boy. It's rough. Rough. I'm glad to see you all made it through that one. That one was difficult for me, and I'm sure that some of you may be kind of in my boat where you're on the edge between desensitized and pulling your fucking hair out. But yeah. Just seeing starving children is just so heartbreaking to me, and to have you people here with me, I gotta say, it does give me some more courage to deal with these things. It feels like we have a group of people working together on this garbage. Oh, these atrocities that we have to look at day by day. Okay. Where are we right now, time-wise? Okay, we're doing good. Under 2 hours. I'm going to keep pushing forward, I guess. Do I push forward? Chat, how far are we? Are we halfway through? Let me count these quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We are halfway. I might take my halfway intermission here, chat. Alright, chat, I'm going to be back in 5 minutes. And I love all of you space fams for being here with me, but in order to do all this, Streamlord needs 5. Well, I've got plenty more content here coming at you. We have a whole lot more to look at, but before we get to that, Just gonna take a quick break. Call it a Streamlord personal break. But in about 5 minutes, I'll be right back to give you everything I have prepared. Now, if you want to support the stream, you got a few options. Free ones, like the stream, subscribe to the stream. These are things you should have already done, but I'm just going to remind you of that. However, since my YouTube is not monetized yet, you basically have one option. Go to my Patreon and become a Galactic producer, where benefits and more galacticness awaits you. Be right back, chat. Streamlord's back. I hope you didn't miss me too much, chat.
China? China. People from China, they love me.
Jesus ain't say that. Jesus ain't say that.
Not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Just messing with you, chat. Just messing with you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, BCat, for the lovely welcome back. It is time, chat, for the second half of the show. And unfortunately, unlike the majority of port, the second half, it hasn't been the fun half in any way. It's mostly been the genocide half, if I'm being perfectly honest. It's not been intentional, but that's just how it's worked out. As I've had the most stuff to cover in Israel every day, and so it's been the last thing to be covered. For whatever reason. That's just been my... You already know how it's been going. What am I doing? What am I doing, chat? Oh, right. Okay. So, before we go to anything in Israel, we are going to look at the situation in Russia and Ukraine, as it is not any better. However, we're going to make a brief pit stop between... I think I've set it up in a decent way. Between Africa and that conflict to a sort of a side conflict. I hate to call it that, but it's tangential to the Russia-Ukraine conflict for sure. But this is from a channel called Radio Free Europe, and this is from 6 days ago. Locals fear being cut off amid Armenian-Azerbaijani peace talks. And if you're unfamiliar, Armenia and Azerbaijan used to both be part of the USSR, and after the USSR collapsed, eventually created their own states, but in between that, there was a bunch of, I guess what you might call ethnic cleansing and or genocide to some degree. I actually did a senior project on the conflicts in the former USSR, places like Serbia. Anyways, let's see this. Where there it is. Okay, Azerbaijan, please.
The residents of the Armenian border village of Voskapar are living in limbo. They're worried what peace talks between the Armenian and Azerbaijani governments might mean for them.
News has been spreading that they've already ceded our villages. If you're not sure what that means, it means that she believes that essentially what she's saying is that their villages have been announced to be in a different country by a different government. But our village is not some Azerbaijani village for them to cede.
Voskapar is sandwiched between Azerbaijan and an abandoned Azerbaijani exclave. Armenia seized other nearby territory in the 1990s during the First Nagorno-Karabakh War. Azerbaijan is now demanding Armenia cede control of 4 local villages.
Oh shit. Sorry, chat. I was reading something and did not notice they're speaking in another language again. How shocking. Since when do I do that? Okay, the government talks about the need to cede land or else there would be a war. They came, dug some trenches, who can figure it out? What can we know?
The villagers worry they may be cut off from key roads and grazing land.
No matter what they negotiate and what they agree to exchange, if the Azerbaijanis go there, we cannot live there. The border stretches from that hill over there. We are left with this small area. That road is also theirs. We are left with this small hill as our border, and also some area in front of it.
The home of villager Lyova Konstantian still has shelling marks from when Armenia and Azerbaijan last clashed over these lands.
If Azerbaijanis come, we'll have no way of living here. I think he was pointing out bullet holes in his gate. Is that what he was doing? Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely bullets.
It still has shelling marks from when Armenia and Azerbaijan last clashed over these lands.
None of us will be able to keep livestock or travel. We'll have no hope. All the roads are closed, become isolated like an island.
Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan visited the region on March the 18th and met with local residents. He said Armenia had no choice but to cede territory to Azerbaijan.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I might have to Google this, so I'm sorry for that, chat. You know me. I feel like I always am trying to make sure I get things right. But if I'm not mistaken, the Azerbaijanis and the Armenians are both Orthodox Christians, but are of different ethnic and cultural heritage. And so they've been fighting over this land for like, I want to say like 40 or 50 years, ever since the USSR. And there was already during the USSR, if I'm not mistaken, like during like the Soviet Union, Armenians, I believe, was it Armenians? Fucking hell. I'm trying to keep track of that. At least one. Hold on, I gotta Google it. One of them were suppressed in a very racist sort of systemic way during the USSR. God damn it. Pretty sure it was the Armenians. If I'm not, yeah, it was the Armenians. Actually, no, I take it back. The Armenians might be Muslims. Am I right about that? You know what? I take it back. Take it all back. The Armenians are a Muslim minority, aren't they? Yeah. Alright, I take back my original framing of them being the same religion. I'm pretty sure Azerbaijanis are Orthodox and Armenians are Muslim. Figured it out, chat. I'm trying my best to keep track of all of this shit for you. Oh god. Just one travesty after another. Yes, the Armenian genocide, thank you. Hence the name from the Young Turks. And all of that other stuff. Wait. Wait, no, did I flip it around? I did flip it around, didn't I? Hold on. I did flip it around. Why do I suck so bad, chat? Or did I? It's because their names both start with A's, okay? And I don't say Azerbaijan or Armenia very often. But if I'm interpreting this correctly, it's the opposite of what I said. And Armenians were, or are Orthodox Christians. Do we get Jessica Flesher at 30 likes? Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you. Oh my god, you're at 29. Oh, you're super close. You're super close, chat. One away. Okay, going from a conflict that's in a former Soviet territory to another one. But actually, do I do this? I have this in. I don't like this order. I don't suck? Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes it's just trying to keep the historical stuff straight in my head without looking at the context previously is sometimes difficult for me because I'm not a historian, you know? Like, I did okay in history class and all that stuff, but I technically was an AP history for a couple of years. Whatever. I'm not. Let's just write that down. Everybody write that down. Streamlord is not a historian. Yes, though. It's too easy to block users on mobile. You blocked Mrs. Katz. Oh God. Okay. I don't know why I have this in this order, so I'm gonna switch this. So give me 1 second, chat. I just gotta refresh something over here. The
residents of the Armenian border village of
don't do this
Vostobar are
again.
living in limbo. They're worried what peace talks between the Armenian and...
Okay, now we go to this next one. This is from DW from a day ago. NATO member Poland says Russian missile violated its airspace. Just hear that title again. Let it sink in. NATO member Poland says Russian missile violated its airspace. This is the kind of stuff that we should be concerned about. Okay. Gonna get through this.
NATO member Poland says a Russian cruise missile briefly violated its airspace on Sunday morning. Warsaw summoned officials from the Russian embassy to demand an explanation. Poland said the missile entered its territory as it was firing at targets in western Ukraine. The city of Lviv, close to the Polish border, came under heavy attack. Explosions also rocked the Ukrainian capital. Officials say air defenses shot down roughly a dozen missiles in and around Kyiv. Residents were told to remain in shelters. Poland says it would have shot down the Russian missile that breached it.
I thought that's what you said. Fuck you, okay? And also thank you for that. It really, less of a fuck you and more of a thank you. But it's very funny, Styx Dragon. And I almost don't want to feed into this because it feels a little bit narcissistic. But seriously, it's thoughtful of you.
NATO member Poland says a Russian cruise missile briefly violated its airspace on Sunday morning. Warsaw summoned officials from the Russian embassy to demand an explanation. Poland said the missile entered its territory as it was firing at targets in western Ukraine. The city of Lviv, close to the Polish border, came under heavy attack. Explosions also rocked the Ukrainian capital. Officials say air defenses shot down roughly a dozen missiles in and around Kyiv. Residents were told to remain in shelters. Poland says it would have shot down the Russian missile that breached its airspace if there had been any indication that it was heading towards a target in Poland. Here's what the defense minister had to say.
At 4:43 a.m., there was a violation of Poland's airspace by one of the Russian missiles. The object flew into Poland's airspace near the town of Oserdów in Lublin province and stayed on our territory for 39 seconds. It flew about 1,000 to 2,000.
Everyone has imposter syndrome. I feel like that's definitely not true. I feel like maybe like 1/3 of the population has imposter syndrome, and then another third has unfounded confidence, and then another third that's just kind of in the middle doing nothing.
Meters into our territory. At all times, the object was monitored by Poland's radio tracking systems. Beforehand, as I said, all strategic security measures were taken.
Marina Moran is a military analyst with King's College London, and she joins us now from Munich. Good to see you as always, Marina. Is it reasonable to believe this was simply an accident, or is the trajectory of such missiles precisely predetermined?
Good day, Michael. Well, what we have to understand, there is a significant difference between cruise missiles and ballistic missiles. Cruise missiles fly at low altitudes. They are essentially, if you wish, like an unmanned aircraft. And so they have different guidance systems on board, such as terrain mapping, satellite navigation, and they have a degree of maneuverability in order to remain undetected, so to fly beneath the radar. So here is a possibility while...
Oh, it's Jessica Fletcher time? Did he hit 30 likes? Oh my god. Oh, 33? Holy fuck, that's a lot of likes. You're like a third of the way to another support character. You know what, I'll let you have Angela Lansbury as your third support character. There she is. She's here for us. Okay. I'm going to watch a little bit more of this.
Violation of airspace is a violation regardless of whether it was 39 seconds or 3 minutes or whatever it might have been. The thing here which we have to understand, the missile might have tried to evade certain air defenses located in Ukraine and therefore ventured briefly into the Polish territory. So you cannot say that you can completely determine the course of the missile.
Understood. So let me ask you this. According to the Polish army, the Russian missile violated Polish airspace for just under 40 seconds and flew 2 kilometers into Polish territory. How serious a violation is that?
Well, that's dependent on the Polish side to determine, of course, and we have seen the Polish...
Yeah, okay. That's basically all I wanted to watch there. And of course, it is up to Poland. And thankfully, technology saved us from World War III, because the radar and other monitoring systems that Poland has in this instance basically gave them the assurance that it wasn't coming to attack Poland. But let's just say for some reason that was down, right? Or, you know, it could cause problems. Oh, shit. Did I add this video? Oh, fuck. Why do I... I had something in my mind set up for this in-between right here to this next thing, and I don't have it. Well, Google this yourself, okay? I'm just going to talk about it real quick, because I don't want to add this video in here to try and watch it, so you're going to have to sustain on my voice alone. But speaking of that sort of a situation, I saw a video in my feed, which I watched before, and I thought I had added to my list, but it's somehow not in here, and it was essentially saying that Ukraine was shooting down and bombing Starlink satellites on the ground and stations that are set up in Russia. And I'm just, you know, connecting dots here. If people, if Russia and Ukraine keep targeting Starlink stuff, you know, infrastructure of this nature, it could affect Poland or another bordering nation, such as, let's think, who else is right there? My brain just broke. Oh my god. There's a bunch of countries. Let's just be aware of that. And yeah. Granted, some of them are aligned with Russia, such as like Georgia to some degree, I think. Actually, is Georgia aligned with Russia now? I forget. It's always changing over here. I should keep track of this shit more often. Fuck me. The Square Pusher song? Okay, I feel that. I feel that. We'll get you in the mood. Alright. Moving forward to this next one. This is from Radio Free Europe as well. Why would Islamic State attack Russia? Well, they're going to explain it a little bit. Although I would point out, if you don't remember from, I don't know, 30, 45 minutes ago, part of it might be due to the fact that Russia has been in the Sahel actively fighting Islamic State and other Islamic rebel groups, and they're not a huge fan of that. So that's probably part of it.
It's a credible claim in the sense that Islamic State rarely claims attacks that it doesn't actually carry out. And I would also argue that going back quite a number of years, Islamic State has had Russia in its crosshairs. Russia's support for Iran, its support for Assad in Syria, the Russian campaign, military campaign against Islamic State fighters in Syria, the fact that you have had the Wagner Group, of course, the Russian mercenary force, operating in parts of Africa where it has also targeted Islamic State fighters, and also more relatively recently, Russia's perceived support for the Taliban in Afghanistan, which is a bitter rival of Islamic State. All of this, I think, makes for a compelling argument for why Islamic State would indeed want to go after Russian targets.
Kugelman says the group's affiliate, Islamic State Khorasan, may have executed the attack. I mean, they've said that they executed the attack. To be more clear, the group targeted the Russian embassy in Kabul in 2022.
Let's remember that it was only some weeks back that Islamic State Khorasan was complicit in a major attack in Iran. ISK has also been complicit in a number of other attacks. Quite a few of them were foiled in Europe as well as the Middle East, a series of attacks we're talking about here. So my view is that all fingers should point to Islamic State. There's really no other logical actor, I think, that could be, again, could have both the will and the capacity to do something like this.
Okay. Moving forward. And that video, I don't think I said when that one was from. That was from 2 days ago. Happened, I think it came out like right after the attack happened. It was very quick. This video came out. This next one is a protest held in Kyiv. It's a rally for prisoners of war who defended Mariupol, still held in Russia.
I was among those persons who protected Mariupol. We were encircled during 3 months, and then I went to Russian captivity according to the order of our president, and I spent in prison 1 year. Personally, I experienced physical tortures, electricity tortures. Also, they gave us we had lack of water, lack of food, and which is also very important, lack of information. So why we're here? We want to attract attention and to show the whole Europe, the whole world, that we need to take our brothers in arms back, because they are holding there in really terrible conditions.
Okay. All right. We're going to watch this Democracy Now! Video where they discuss the the attack as well here, and it's always just good to, in my opinion, it's always good to hear what Democracy Now! Has to say about stuff. It might just be me, but do find them to be the most enlightening of the news sources available.
There are no contacts with the Westerners now.
For more, we're joined by two
Son of a
guests. In a
bitch.
minute, we'll speak with Nina Khrushcheva, a professor at the New School University.
Why is this here? It's not even where I stopped it.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. In Russia, the death toll has risen to 137 from an attack on a popular concert hall in Moscow Friday. Authorities say gunmen opened fire inside the Crocus City Hall during a sold-out rock concert, then set part of the venue on fire.
Oh my god.
More than 100 people
How did we get to 39 likes? That's insane. We're 1 like away from 40? Crazy, chat. Crazy.
were also injured, many in critical condition. A survivor described the attack.
They were just walking and shooting as they went along. There were 5 or 6 of them. They were just walking and just shooting like this. They did not shoot upwards. They did not scream. They did not say, "Everyone lay down, we will kill you," etc. They were just walking.
People are just gonna have to pump that link in Discord to get that 40th like or something. Tell your mom to like the stream.
And gunning down everyone methodically in silence. Sound was echoing and we could not understand what was where.
Sunday was a day of mourning in Russia. Authorities have detained 11 people, including 4 men from Tajikistan, who appeared in court today. They all appeared to have suffered significant injuries, reportedly suffered during interrogations. One suspect was in a wheelchair and seemed to lose consciousness during the court session. Reuters reports he may have had an eye missing. The 4 are charged with terrorism and face life sentences. An affiliate of the Islamic State, ISIS-K, has claimed...
That is a 40th like. That's incredible. That is truly amazing. Okay, well, I gotta say, chat, this deserves one of these. Really good job. Truly impressed. Iraq with the 40th like. Oh, that's what I didn't do. That's what I didn't finish today. Son of a bitch. Oh, because I restarted my computer and then I didn't do it because ADD and organization. Because I made Spike Spiegel and now I don't have a Spike Spiegel ready for you. I started working on it and then I stopped. Fucking hell. Anyway, back to this.
Responsibility and posted video of the attack online. Russian authorities have suggested Ukraine was in the attack, a claim Kyiv called absurd. The U.S. Embassy had reportedly warned Russia earlier this month that it was, quote...
I don't know if you heard what she said, but they think that some people of some authority believe that one suspect who was laying down, passed out, like in a chair, had lost an eye somehow.
Monitoring reports that extremists have imminent plans to target large gatherings in Moscow, unquote, especially...
You could pick. Do you want Morty or do you want Neo? Because I do have Morty. We could put Morty in here if you want Morty instead. Up to you, chat. You know what? Because 40 is crazy. Crazy number of likes. Crazy number. It's definitely the most we've had on a stream, I think. I'm going to give you a free Morty. How do you feel about that, chat? It's a free Morty. Let me get him a little closer. Yeah. Then he's got Angela. He's got Angela for help. Okay. Whoa, don't do that. Okay. Okay. Back to this.
Concert halls And U.S. National Security Council spokesperson Adrienne Watson said the U.S. government had, quote, shared this information with Russian authorities in accordance with its longstanding duty to warn policy. Putin called the warnings, quote, provocative and outright blackmail in a speech
Sorry, yeah, that's not Neo. That's John Wick. That's what I meant.
last Tuesday. Today, a Kremlin spokesperson refused to respond to reporters who asked Friday if Friday was an intelligence failure.
Our special services work independently. Any help now is out of the question. Although, as you know, the day before President Putin had many phone communications, leaders of various countries, Belarus, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Turkey, and other countries whose leaders spoke with the president over the phone. The intentions to develop and improve cooperation against terrorism were voiced there. The topic was discussed. There are no contacts with the Westerners now.
For more, we're joined by two guests. In a minute, we'll speak with Nina Khrushcheva, a professor at the New School University here in New York. But first, we turn to Joshua Yaffa, contributing writer to The New Yorker magazine, their longtime Moscow correspondent, author of Between Two Fires, Truth, Ambition, and Compromise in Putin's Russia. His new piece released yesterday, How Will Putin Respond to the Terrorist Attack in Moscow? Josh, welcome back to Democracy Now! Well, how will and how is Putin responding to this attack, as we just listened to Dmitry Peskov, the longtime Kremlin spokesperson?
Well, you highlighted rightly that this is an awkward, to put it mildly, subject for Putin, given the warnings that the West made publicly through that U.S. embassy notice that you read. And there were also clearly private warnings that now the U.S. National Security Council is talking about, in which U.S. shared some intelligence about the prospect or likelihood of an attack. And Putin, at a meeting with high-ranking FSB officials, an address he gave to an FSB colloquium in 3 days before the attack, dismissed those warnings, as you said, as blackmail, as a provocation, as a kind of ruse by the West. So all of this is now, again, to put it mildly and very tragically, quite awkward for Putin, given the scale of the destruction and the terror attack last week. Putin's first...
I think it was not too unexpected that Putin is attempting to at least use it to rally people's feelings, if you will, against Ukraine with this attack, but you know, I guess we'll see how it all plays out. To be honest, it's I feel like it's a little bit too soon to see exactly how every piece will fall, but at least we're looking at all the pieces and attempting to assess where they will go. I mean, me personally, I don't think it's going to be that hard for him to sell it to a large majority of Russians, although there's plenty of Russians who don't like Putin. His popularity numbers aren't terrible. It depends. It's all going to depend on a bunch of shit. I mean, since it happened, he's launched multiple strikes on Ukraine. multiple strikes. And this next video is from 12 hours ago, where a Ukrainian artillery unit fired howitzers at Russian infantry positions in Bakhmut. So, there's that too.
Складна ситуація на фронті.
It's a complicated situation at the front line. We're lacking ammunition.
Боєприпасів. Були боєприпаси.
It'd be much easier for the infantry if we had them, so it is hard now. Yeah, and we've been talking about the Ukrainian lack of ammunition, and that probably some of the available ammunition, almost not even probably, definitely was given to Israel. Instead, yeah, 100% will be an easy sell. Yeah. The tank was in a ghillie suit. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. It's funny the way you put that, though. Now I can't unsee it that way. Sneaky tank. I think you've underestimated the sneakies. Okay, this is from 5 days ago. AJ Plus. Somehow I missed this puppy. This is entitled How Israeli TV Sells Gaza's Destruction.
Images like these coming out of Gaza have shocked the world. But here's what's
You gotta remember, I think AJ Plus videos are usually louder. I think I'm starting to realize this.
Journalists on Israeli television have to say about them.
So life is being censored? In what way? Is that true? Hold on, I gotta read. Son of a bitch. When we saw the images of bombed buildings... Forgot I gotta read for this puppy. And dead bodies from Gaza for the first time. I, for one, said, who cares? It's not enough. It's not interesting. It needs to be way stronger.
Independent reporting on the devastating impact that Israel's military campaign has had on Gaza's civilians is largely non-existent. And Israeli media ignored the country's actions in the occupied territories long before October 7th. There's even an expression for the Israeli press's long-standing attitude. Quiet, we're shooting. We talked to veteran Israeli journalist Gideon Levy about why much of the country's media establishment chooses to either ignore or glorify the suffering of Palestinians.
You have to be part of the dehumanization of the Palestinians. You don't have to show them as human beings. You don't have to tell the story of their tragedies and catastrophes. You can really ignore them.
When South Africa made the case that Israel has been committing genocide in Gaza, it showed the UN's International
No, that comment is not visible. So life.
Court of Justice clips like this from Israeli media as evidence.
אז אנחנו צריכים שיקרה האסון הזה כדי להבין שהפלסטינים זאת קבוצה מיותרת, כדי להבין שיכול להיות שמה שהם צריכים זה נכבה 2.
See, over the last decade, a large network of right-wing media outlets has emerged in Israel, and its coverage explicitly dehumanizes Palestinians.
חיות אדם, לא פחות מזה.
Human animals, nothing less, most of them. And through certain tools and means, we managed to get the first confessions. You mean
but
torture?
Have these new outlets really changed the country's media landscape?
The only difference between the right-wing media and the mainstream media is in the cover. Only the cover is different. The right-wing media has no PC. No political correctness. They can call to exterminate all the people of Gaza, which the mainstream media will not feel well about it. They want it in a more elegant way. So, for example, don't call it a genocide. Kill as many as you want. Tens of thousands, 100,000, but don't call it genocide, because this makes us feel not good with ourselves. The killing itself doesn't bother.
This partially explains why not much independent reporting has even made it onto more traditional Israeli news channels. Another reason? Many Israeli news outlets rely heavily on information from the military and often butter up officials to maintain that access.
Now, the army created a very sophisticated way in which, if you want information from the army, you have to behave well to the army, otherwise he will exclude you. You depend a lot on the goodwill of the army. And the army has the biggest PR unit in Israel. And they do it very sophisticated.
Israeli media will often air footage like this, given to them by the military, without scrutiny or additional context.
במלחמה זו הבנו את חשיבותו של צה"ל ככוח המגן של העם היהודי בארץ ובעולם.
Journalists also allow military...
Actually, Morbius is right. I can see it now, too. I just looked up. I just didn't look hard enough. That was my fault. I started this problem.
People to regurgitate government talking points with little to no pushback. Like in this next clip, where a military spokesperson justifies the horrific conditions that Palestinians face in an Israeli prison.
בתא אפשר לראות שמדובר במיטות קומותיים בלי מזרן, ואין אסלה, רק בול פגיעה בחושך.
What in the fuck? Oh man. I gotta say, and this is, it's probably a little fucked up to phrase it this way, but this guy looks like a terrorist, okay? He's an Israeli soldier, but he's covering his face. Because I think he's a little bit maybe ashamed of the fact that they're committing war crimes right now. But this is what I feel like the media like paints terrorists to look like. And that's all I'm saying. It's just funny how the tables have turned.
ואין אסלה, רק בול פגיעה בחושך כמעט מוחלט לאורך היום. כולם מזוקים ברגליים כל הזמן, ואחד לשני.
I keep not reading shit. This shit is fucked up. I think that's partly why. I just don't want to read it because it's so fucked.
Government talking points with little to no pushback. Like in this next clip, where a military spokesperson justifies the horrific conditions that Palestinians face in an Israeli prison.
In the cell, you can see that there are 2-story beds without a mattress, and there is no toilet. Only a hole in the floor and almost complete darkness throughout the day. They're all tied up, all of them wear leg cuffs, and are cuffed to each other. This is how it should be, okay? What came on October 7th will not return.
Sometimes journalists repeat these talking points themselves.
That shit is fucking gross.
Like in this report on the bombing of Al-Shifa Hospital.
אבל בצה"ל אומרים שאחרי תקיפה כזאת מסיבית בלילה, הם רואים שחיקה ביכולת של החוליות של חמאס לנהל לחימה במהלך התקלויות.
Since the media heavily leans on the military in its reporting, officials can dispense information and even disinformation that shapes the media narrative in their favor.
The outcome is not journalism. Here it's definitely not journalism. You can see how everyone reports the same thing, so you understand that they got it all by one source, never checked anything.
That's partially how the military helps ensure Israel's public keeps supporting war, occupation, and apartheid. When journalists actually are reporting from on the ground in Gaza themselves, they're usually embedded with the Israeli military. And their reports often echo military propaganda.
Okay. That's all I really wanted us to, or at least cover for now. I may not see. I would actually recommend watching the rest of this for those of you with extra time in your lives, but we are already almost 3 hours in. I still got some more things for us to do here, and probably should try and get some sleep tonight. Let's see. Why did Morbius block us? Did Morbius block us? Why did Morbius do this? I thought Morbius loved us. That doesn't make sense. No comprende. Okay. This one's from much more recently. That was 5 days ago. This is 22 hours ago. At least 14 Palestinians killed in overnight Israeli attacks on, I believe it is Rafah. It's not in the title, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, it might have been northern Gaza. Fucking hell.
Smoke in Rafah following an Israeli airstrike, a supposed safe haven for Palestinians. The injured are carried to hospital as doctors do what they can to keep them alive. Even children are victim of Israel's latest attack on a residential building, as the search for more loved ones underneath the rubble continues.
This is my brother's house. We were surprised by what happened. We brought out 6 martyrs, and there are still 4 missing. 2 girls and my brother's wife and her daughter. They're still in the house.
But for those who don't make it, tears accompany the mourning.
We have nothing to do with anything. We're civilians, that's all. They want to fight Hamas? So be it. Let the Israeli army kill them. Let them rid of them. As for us, the displaced people, we have nothing to do with it. We are displaced, and these children are not their fault. We have nothing to do with any organization except Almighty God.
More sirens ring out in Deir al-Balah after Israel dropped more bombs on residential buildings in the...
I'm pretty sure Morbius isn't in here. I don't see Morbius talking at all. Why don't I see Morbius? Is Morbius here and I just don't see him? Because that doesn't make sense. Since when does that happen? Am I not looking hard enough? I feel like someone's playing a prank on me right now. Hey, what am I gonna do with these kids?
Medics rushed this baby to hospital, with it requiring immediate treatment. On Sunday, Israel said it was conducting a series of operations in northern Khan Yunis. In a statement, they said their operation in the region had begun with aerial strikes, saying several targets had been hit and eliminated. Meanwhile, in Egypt, the UN's chief Antonio Guterres has called for the suffering to end during talks with Foreign Minister Sami Shukri.
Looking at Gaza, it almost appears that the four horsemen of war, famine, conquest and death are galloping across it. And that is why the time for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire is now, and in the Ramadan spirit of compassion.
Using that language it concerns me. I love Anthony Guterres, but using biblical language, it's only going to get the evangelicals more excited. Don't talk about the four horsemen of the apocalypse. Oh boy. Dear diary. Very funny. Very funny. You're starting to self-doubt. Why? Doesn't even make sense. Okay, what was I doing next? Okay, yeah. That was 22. Was it 22? Oh, yeah. Okay, one last Democracy Now! Video. Got a couple more after that, but this one is from 14 hours ago. As Israel blocks more UN aid, Gaza is on the brink of the most intense famine since World War II.
This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report.
Whoops.
I'm Amy Goodman. We turn now to Gaza, where aid groups say famine is imminent after 5 months of U.S.-backed attacks by Israel. The head of the UN Palestinian Aid Agency, UNRWA, says Israel is now denying access to all UNRWA food convoys to northern Gaza, even though the region is on the brink of famine. UNRWA chief Philippe Lazzarini wrote on X, quote,
I assume the four horsemen of the apocalypse ride bareback, but that's just my thinking.
This man-made starvation under our watch is a stain on our collective humanity. On Saturday, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres traveled to the Rafah border crossing.
A long line of blocked red relief trucks on one side of the gates. The long shadow of starvation on the other. That is more than tragic. It is a moral outrage. It's time to truly flood Gaza with life-saving aid.
I thought we watched this one already. Okay, I get to skip 30 seconds.
The executive director of the World Peace Foundation at Tufts University, and author of Mass Starvation, the History and Future of Famine. His new piece for The Guardian, we're about to witness in Gaza the most intense famine since the Second World War. Alex, welcome back to Democracy Now! Describe what's happening at a time when Israel's now preventing the largest aid umbrella in Gaza, UNRWA, from delivering aid to northern Gaza, where famine is the most intense.
Let's make no mistake, we talk about imminent famine or being at the brink of famine. When a population is in this extreme cataclysmic food emergency, already children are dying in significant numbers of hunger and needless disease, the two interacting in a vicious spiral that is killing them, likely in thousands.
I can't get over the fact that this guy was here talking to us about the Sudanese starvation, and now he's here talking about the Gaza starvation. Is that his only job? Oh God, what a depressing job to have.
Already, it's very arbitrary to say we're at the brink of famine. It is a particular measure of the utter extremity of threat to human survival. So, and we have never actually, since the metrics for measuring acute food crisis were developed some 20 years ago, we have never seen a situation either in which an entire population, the entire population of Gaza, is in food crisis, food emergency, or famine, or such simple large numbers of people descending into starvation. It simply hasn't happened before in our lifetimes.
How can it be prevented?
Well, it's been very clear. Back in December, the Famine Review Committee of the Integrated Food Security Phase Classification System, and that is the sort of the ultimate arbiter, the high court, if you like, of humanitarian assessments, made it absolutely clear, and I can quote, the cessation of hostilities in conjunction with the sustained restoration of humanitarian access to the Gaza Strip remain the essential prerequisites for preventing famine. It said that in December. It reiterated it again last week. There is no way that this disaster can be prevented without a ceasefire and without a full spectrum of humanitarian relief and restoring essential services.
Can you explain what the...
Okay. Yeah, I hear what you're saying right now, chat, and I get it. And I think part of the frustrating part of this piece is that this guy is an academic who is attempting to get Israel and get this whole situation in Gaza, in this particular case, down to the by-the-book sort of definition, in order to corner, because what's he gonna do? I mean, this guy is an academic. This is his job, right? And so he's genuinely trying to quantify it by a definition that may skirt the line of being incredibly cold and discounting human suffering in order to quantify what actual famine is. But I think that's partly the job of academics, right? And like the ICJ and all these other people to pull out the laws, pull out the textbooks and say, no, you're definitely doing this right now, right? It's the job of governments to get in there and be like, hey, stop that. Because this guy can't tell Israel to stop. He could say stop it days on days on days. It wouldn't help, right? A lot of flipped tables. I see a double flip table. My God. Tables are going flying in chat right now. Alright, this next video is both inspiring and frustrating as fuck. This is from 13 hours ago. This is the moment that the UN Security Council voted on an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, while the US chose to abstain.
Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2024/254 please raise their hand?
God, the camera goes directly to the United States delegate.
Those against?
I forget her name, Barbara or something like that.
Abstention.
What the fuck is the deal with our government? Are we not living in the Twilight Zone right now? Because why is this happening? The fact is, it's better than it's better than the no vote. It's fucking better than the no vote because this means it passes finally after 5 months of attempting to get this done. Essentially without the help of the United States, but without the explicit unhelp, the explicit blockage of it by the United States. Finally, it's passed. And so I think, even though I definitely feel like it's the Twilight Zone, something good has happened. So we're going to give it a resounding clap.
The result of the voting is as follows: 14 votes in favor, 0 vote against, 1 abstention. The draft resolution has been adopted as Resolution 2728, 2024.
Oh, chat. Feels so good. Oh my god, I've been losing my mind for months over this whole thing, and having that, even though it's just a tiny step forward, really does feel like a huge leap in a way from the way things have been going. You know, it's a leap into many more steps that need to happen, but it's a hurdle that we've been struggling with for whatever reason. By whatever reason, I mean the United States specifically. And yeah. Last one. Actually, I just realized that is the last one, technically. But we're going to watch this one. And by the way, Moa Noep, yeah, you're the one who said this. This is the reason why I thought you were reading my mind earlier vis-a-vis your Discord message. So, just as a way to laugh, because I know we need more laughs. Let's watch this clip real quick, because it tickles my fancy.
Now imagine you're holding coffee. This is outrageous. Where are the armed men who come in to take the protesters away? Where are they? This kind of behavior is never tolerated in Boracua. You shout like that, they put you in jail right away. No trial, no nothing. Journalists, we have a special jail for journalists. You're stealing, right to jail. You're playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You're charging too high prices for sweaters, glasses, you right to jail. You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail. You overcook chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook. You make an appointment with the dentist and you don't show up, believe it or not, jail, right away. We have the best patients in the world. Because of jail.
Because of jail. Whoa. Quit autoplaying Majority Report. Not cool, bro. By the way, that is our chat policy. If you violate any of those rules that Fred Armisen just listed, banned. Straight to jail. Okay? That is going to be our policy moving forward. It's a warning. You undercook fish, straight to jail. Overcooked chicken, also jail. Undercook, overcook. Is this Singapore? Very funny. Well, it's been a pleasure having you folks here on this journey with me through the darkness. Covered quite a lot of ground here today, and I hope you're not all swimming in information. Perhaps we'll make sense of it tomorrow. That's it for me, Streamlord. Till I see you next time. You stay classy, Galactic Stream Nation. Well, you thought it was all over. Got an important message for you. It's not. Wait a second. Aw, fuck. My animation didn't save properly. What the fuck? Hold on, chat. Ahem. No, it's this one. Hold on. Take 2. Well, folks, I got an important message for you right now. These are our Galactic patrons, the people who help produce this show by subscribing to my Patreon. Gabby, Aaron W., and Goth Dogs. All of you folks in chat, these are the people you should be appreciating most. They have helped this content exist in the galaxy. So write that down. It's a good way to lose a half a chat room. Wow, chat, if you've taken offense to anything I've said, feel free to cut my head out from any screenshot and put it on anything you'd like that makes you feel better. In no way was it my intention to cause anybody distress and or feelings of inadequacy. I love each and every one of you, and without your existence and coming to these streams, well, guess what? It wouldn't be complete. And regardless of your ability to shell out a few dollars a month, I still appreciate you, and you are valid.